Yeah, we can start now.
I see the number of people still steadily increasing.
Yeah, we can take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, wait for them to join.
Yeah, so I think let's give it at least 2 minutes more and then get started. In fact,
Right,
the
right.
number is rapidly increasing, I can see.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think we're good to start the session now. Firstly, good morning to you all. I'm really excited to be here today at the launch of our 2023 flagship event, Testathon. I'm Malika Fernandez. I'm part of the QE capability, and our endeavor has been innovation. And to continue this focus, we bring to you the Control Plus T Testathon. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you all who have registered to participate in the Testathon event. This is our second offering of the Control Plus T Testathon event, and we have partnered with a very niche test automation provider, Lambda Test, this time. Welcome to the Lambda Test leadership team. To kickstart the event, I would like to invite Mahesh Venkatraman, who leads quality engineering at ATCI. Mahesh, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Malika. Thanks, everybody, for attending this. It's a great event, and I do see the numbers increasing as we talk, as we speak. But we'll have to get started. So it gives a great pleasure for me to deliver this keynote in this testathon. So as we all know, the developers always had the fun of hackathon all these years. And last year we started this testathon, and this is the third in the series, if I'm not mistaken. And this time we are bringing in as partners in this testathon Lambda Test. And you will know more about Lambda Test. But personally, what I have been very impressed about Lambda Test is their vision for quality engineering. They are not just yet another tool technology vendor, technology company that does the usual stuff. what exactly they do and how that is going to benefit you and me as a professional and our customers and Accenture business is what you will learn in the next 10 days. What is important from from Lambda test, what I feel is very, very strategic is the way they have synthesized multiple tools together, brought every tool under a common platform for execution, right? Now, having said this, it also gives me a great pleasure to see each of you who have registered for this testathon. You have invested, you have chosen to invest your time, you have chosen to invest your effort to learn, and not only learn but also to collaborate, because this is after all about collaboration, and also take up the challenge of the final grand finale challenge. So we all know that learning just in the classroom is not going to be enough. It is a challenge that keeps all of us as professionals to continue to be curious, continue to apply, and in that process, when we apply, we also gain experience, we also gain expertise, and also help our customers to grow their business. So having said this, it's a let's I'm really looking forward to the next 10 days of quizzes sessions by eminent people in the industry, eminent people in the ecosystem of Lambda test, to give us more inputs about how to make the best possible use of Lambda test, and learn and get certified and be able to face the final challenge. As we all know that it is not just the car that is going to win the Formula One race, it is a car and the driver. So it is not just enough that Lambda test is one of the best tools. It is also important that we, as users, as professionals of quality engineering, understand how to make best use of Lambda test. With that, I look forward to the next 10 days of fun filled learning and challenges. Over to you, Malika, for the next item in the session.
Thank you, Mahesh, for your inspiring words. I really liked the car and the driver for the success in a Formula One event. I think that's a great analogy to all of us. We have Jay Singh in our midst, so I'd like to invite Jay Singh, who is the co founder of Lambda Test and an entrepreneur who is very well known in the industry. Thank you for joining us today, Jay, and I'd like to invite you to provide your views on the event.
Thank you, Malika, and thank you, Mahesh, so much. It's a pleasure today having the team Accenture. In fact, I've seen a lot of passion from your teams coming in, and I can see today with a lot of team members joining in to kind of learn what's happening, and the kind of effort that you all are putting towards Testathon to make sure that we also are growing the way the testing community is also growing the way how the development community is going on by doing this testathon. It's really impressive, and I'm glad we at Lambda Test and the entire team here, we are glad to have this opportunity to hold this testathon for you. Like you said, now with a lot of evolution now, continuous testing taking a lot of pace, right, and a lot of key initiatives happening in the QE side where quality is taken seriously. There's a lot of innovation started happening, and that's one of the areas where we see that not just the framework side but a lot more on the execution side also, people are trying to see how we could kind of make sure it's more optimal and running at best possible speed, and making sure we are not compromising on the speed of release velocity or the quality of the outcomes that the QE teams are working. Now, with that, definitely we are here to see how we could contribute from a platform like Lambda Test. How does it contribute and kind of enable the Accenture team? Plus also bring in the community together. So we also have Manoj Kumar, who is the project community lead. We have Butch, who's joining us from a playwright community, and many other sessions. So we just didn't wanted everyone to keep this testathon towards Lambda Test only, but we also wanted to bring the community where you can also ask a lot of questions. You can ask questions on what you're doing, what kind of career do you foresee, what kind of questions you might have on an automation, So we all here to work together to make this testathon as a success. And thank you so much for your participation. There's a great energy I can see here from the Accenture QA team, and looking forward. Thank you again, Malika and Mahesh, for allowing us to be a part of this testathon. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay, for partnering with us in this event. Uh, and a big thank you to all our registration participants today. We have got a very overwhelming response this time, which beats all the records of such an event. We've got 1,870 registration, which I think is amazing. So that's the spirit of learning and community learning, I would say, that is present within the quality engineering teams here at Accenture. So, our theme, as you all know, is just in time test orchestration, which is a very unique offering from Lambda Test. And as Mahesh and Jay said, it's 2 weeks of hands on experience, certifications, sessions conducted by experts, quizzes, and most interesting part is to hear from a panel of external industry speakers like Daniel Knott, who is the head of product quality at Mayborn Wolf, and a few others who are very well known in the industry. Now, all of you stand a chance to participate in the final challenge that is going to be held on the 9th of June. And the top scorers at the end of the 2 weeks will move into this final challenge. So it's going to be a battle of learning, tech learning, I would say, along with a lot of fun that is in store for you for the 2 weeks. So let's start. And here's to extreme learning in the next 2 weeks. I'd like to now hand over to Mudit and Neeraj to conduct the first workshop on cross browser testing for the event. Over to you, Mudit and Neeraj. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, one.
Thank you, Malika. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Control Plus T Testathon. And I hope you all are as excited as I am for the Testathon and look forward to many days of intriguing challenges, insightful discussions, and the collaborative learning. First of all, I also really want to thank the whole Accenture team who have helped us every step of the way. Special thanks to Mahesh, Malika, Mohan, Alia, Prakash, Murli, Murlidhar, Chenmaya, and rest of the team who have guided us at every step of this. Like without their help, this won't be possible. Now, before we set the sessions, a few ground rules that I want to help out with how this testathon will proceed. So, first of all, we will get points. So there are three ways how will you be getting the points. First is there are 5 Lambda test product certifications. You all would have gotten the login credentials for all of that. Please go through that. The more number of certifications you complete, then the more number of points you will get. In addition, attending every session will also give you points. So do attend all the sessions from Lambda test team, from the external speakers. That will help you get points. And in after that every sessions there would be a session quizzes as well. Scoring on that will also help you get the points. All of these scorings would be calculated and will prepare a leaderboard. So feel free to check out the leaderboard actively to ensure where your position is or who are leading in all of this. But we just do not want to keep the session based on solely on the points. We want all of these sessions to be engaging and pretty interactive, very hands-on sessions. That would be we would our like hope that you guys would enjoy it as well. So during the session, feel free to use the Q&A options that you will see in your screen at the right side. Our speakers during the sessions and after the sessions will be taking your Q&A. So feel free to add your questions over there. During the sessions, we'll be also conducting few polls that will help us identify how to guide the sessions in during and as well after the sessions as well. And if you have, feel free to take participate over there as well. And of course, there are, if you see in that platform, there are way to express your opinions on this through emojis. So feel free to spam those emoji buttons. It will also be a very great moral boost for rest of the people and at the same time to the speakers as well. For the quizzes, our quiz will strictly start at 3 p.m. IST and will close at 3:45 p.m. IST. And it would be around 30 minutes challenge. So feel free to take it up, and that will help you score points. Apart from that, if you want to dig deeper, there are resources, documentations, and videos that we have added in the resources sections. Please feel free to check them out as well. That will help you in quizzes, in certifications, and of course will help you dig deeper into the Lambda test platform. Right. So with those ground rules said, allow me to introduce the first speaker today, Neeraj. He is the customer success architect at Lambda Test, and Neeraj will be taking us through the intricacies of cross-browser testing and how Lambda Test's cross-browser testing platform can help you in your software testing journey. Neeraj, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mujit. That was a wonderful start. I think, and thank you for setting. I think you covered most of the points that I also wanted to set as ground rules. Uh, Hello, everyone. I'm Neeraj. As Mudit mentioned, I work here at Lambda Test as a customer success architect, and I'll take you through today through the cross-browser testing platform. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. Just give me a quick thumbs up if you're able to see my screen, and I will get started.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Mudit. Right, right. So again, welcoming everyone to the first session of Control Plus T Testathon 2023. So today, our topic will be cross-browser testing. So quickly to start with, uh, I think I've already introduced myself. I work here at Lambda Test as a customer success architect. Quickly covering on the agenda. Today we'll talk quickly about what cross-browser testing is, what are its advantages, why do we need it. Then we'll talk about the real-time testing platform that Lambda provides. I'll touch upon integrations, a wide variety that Lambda has. I'll talk about Tunnel, utility that allows you to connect with your private uh, applications while you want to test on the Lambda Test Cloud. Then we'll talk about a responsive testing tool that Lambda Test provides, LT Browser. And we'll talk about or see through or work through how you can do or perform automation testing on Lambda Test. And I will take about any Q&As that you have. Quickly starting with cross-browser testing. So what is cross-browser testing, or what is the need of cross-browser testing in today's world? So where in today's world, where most of the organizations, or even each and every organization in the world, is turning into a software company or is turning into a software organization, so every application that they have or every application that they're building, they need a digital presence, because each and every one of us, including, we are more turning into digital world, we are more turning, or we are more gaining into the digital world, where we are working uh, more on browsers or different devices, we are more engrossed on our laptops, on our mobiles. So each and every application even that we are building or that is being built by different organization needs to have a varied presence in all of these operating systems, browsers, as well as versions. And also they need to have quick response as well as quickly adaptable to these different versions. That's where cross-browser testing comes in, where you have to actually make sure that each application that you're building or the application that's being built is as good as it is in one browser at that than it is in the other browsers as well. Which means that if it's working smoothly, working perfectly on Chrome, it should also give the same performance in Firefox, in a mobile browser, in Safari, etc. What are the major challenges that we have seen with cross-browser testing? So how we can do cross-browser testing? So as the name suggests, cross-browser testing is a very wide landscape, is a very wide scope, because even if we talk about browsers, we have a lot of browsers starting from Chrome, Opera, uh, Yandex, Firefox, and the list goes on. Similarly, they have its own different versions, and with different operating systems, with different platforms, they have its own uh, problems and own challenges. So And if you want to test, or if you want to make sure that your cross-browser testing is done, you need to have inventory, or you need to have that infrastructure setup of each and every operating system, each and every browser, to make sure that everything is in place. And what are the advantages, or what helps if you do the cross-border testing? It makes sure that your application that you've built is consistent around all of the platforms. It helps you find out bugs before it's responded, or before it's found out by any of your users, or any of your customers, or any of your end users. Because any application that you're building, no one wants the application to have any lag or any issues on the customer side while they're using it. Then you also want it to have an enhanced performance of on all of the platforms, on all of the browsers, everywhere. So basically, on a whole, uh, with cross-browser testing, what you want to achieve is a similar website that you're trying to work, or trying to work with the most common browser, which is Chrome, should give you the exact same performance, exact same utility, exact same behavior when you're trying to work with that on a mobile browser, on a Opera, or even if you're trying to work with it on a Mac or a Safari browser as well. How Lambda test comes into picture when it comes to cross-browser testing? So as I mentioned in the challenges of cross-browser testing, that with cross-browser testing, you need, if you want to do cross-browser testing on your own, what you need is a wide variety of infrastructure and wide variety of operating systems, browsers, everything. So for example, let's say if you want to set up a cross-border testing lab, what you would have to do is, just for Chrome, you'll have to have separate machines that you set up. With all of that machines, you'll have to have different versions of Chrome, different operating systems, which you add in different machines. And then similar to that, you'll also have to have that for other operating systems and other browsers as well. So one of the biggest challenges when it comes to setting up something for cross-border testing is the overall infrastructure load and the maintenance load of the browsers as well as the operating systems. Since if we talk just about Chrome, Chrome releases almost a new version every month coming in. And what we have to make sure is that the application that's being tested is working as perfectly as it's in the current version and in the latest version as well. And to do that, you'll have to make sure that you keep on upgrading, you keep on updating your existing cross-browser testing landscape that you have, be it your uh, be it your Insight lab you have, or be it you have a, let's say, third-party tool that you're using. Whatever you use, you'll have to make sure that that's updated. But where Lambda test comes into picture is we make sure that we take care of all of this infrastructure has all of the updates, all of the uh, inventory side. The only thing you'll have to worry about is taking care and maintaining your existing test suites, existing test setups, and everything on the infrastructure side, inventory side, any browser, any version, any device that you need. Lambda test is here to take care and cater for it. So I'll just ask my colleagues first to launch a quick poll for everyone. All right. I hope you might have interacted or you might have gone through the poll. Moving forward, first topic that I'd like to talk about is real-time testing. So as I mentioned, that LAMP test will take care of all of the infrastructure, all of the inventory, or all of the uh, devices you need. So on Lambda test, you have the ability to perform both uh, manual as well as automation testing. So as under cross-browser testing, mainly it's divided into two brackets, manual and automation. So Lambda supports you to do both of them. The real-time testing part, which I'm talking about right now, this talks about the manual testing infrastructure on Lambda test. And what you get under real-time testing. So as you can see on the screen, we give you around 3000 plus operating system browser combinations, and that all the legacy to the latest browsers available, and that too you have a wide variety selection of all the emulators, simulators, all the desktops, as well as real devices as well. Today in my session, I'll not be touching upon the real devices part, because there's a separate session that is would be conducted by one of my colleagues on 31st for real devices. Under real-time testing, what you can do on Lambda test is starting with the simple browser testing. That is, you can launch a browser, start with the browser. You can also perform native app testing on emulator simulators. Then we also give you additional features which make the overall life or overall experience of a tester easier. Let's not talk about it on the PPT, but let's get into a working session. So this that you see on my screen is the Lambda test dashboard, which you land in as soon as you log in on the screen. And the left hand side here, these are all the different options that you get while you're performing on which you want to perform the different operations or the different tests you want to do. Starting with the real-time testing that we just searched upon. So I'll just click on browser testing. So under real-time testing, as you can see, as I mentioned, you get both browser as well as app testing. Under browser testing, what you get is a wide variety of selection of browsers and operating systems. So under browsers, we support everything ranging from Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, IE, Brave, Opera, and Yandex. And also we support versions starting from the latest beta to the legacy versions available. And we also have different operating systems on which you can perform uh, the tests. And you also have the option to choose between different resolutions. And if in case there's a use case where you need to add a predefined, or you need the system to have a predefined extension, you also have an option to do that in Chrome specifically, where you can add an extension predefined from the from Chrome Store directly. And anytime you want to run a session, anytime you start the session, as soon as you select the number of extensions you want it to be added, you can just select them, and you will get those pre-added in the browser. So how you can quickly start a session on the Lambda test? It's very simple. Where you see this place a URL bar, just enter the URL on which you want to start testing. Select the browser, the version, the operating system on which you want to test, resolution if that's required, and extension that's needed. Simply click on start. As soon as you click on start, what will happen is it will locate you a browser of your choice, and this browser that you'll get or that you'll see on the screen is as powerful as your local browser as well. I love when these things happen. Anytime I want to give a demo or I want to give a session, my system takes some time to load up. Yeah, right. So as I mentioned, this browser is as powerful as my local browser. So just like your local browser, you can right click here, you can go into the inspect element and get into each of the network logs, the command logs, the console logs, everything, uh, how you work with in your local browser, you can work through here as well. If you want to get any logs, if you want to get some elements, everything can be done here. But on top of that, what you also get is the additional options that you see here on the left hand side. And let's talk about these options one by one. Starting with the first option here, which is Mark as bug. Before I go into Mark as bug, I'd like to quickly take you back to, I'll just duplicate this as well. Yeah, take you back to the presentation. Sorry. And I would also like to touch upon the integration landscape that LambTest provides. So LambTest not only provides you a tool, but it also makes your life easier while you're testing on LambdaTest. So for that, LambTest has integrations with almost 120 plus different project management tools, bug mapping tools, communication channels, CI/CD tools, etc. You name it, and probably either we'll have it, or if you need it, we will be able to build it depending on if the tool has the APIs, etc. And most of the tools or most of the options that you'd see in the Lambda test integrations page, which I'll be just showing you, those are all, most of them are integrations that we built up on request when it was required by a client. So if I go back to one of my sessions, I'll end this. I'll go into, I think my net is pretty slow today as compared. Yeah. So this that you see on my screen is the integration landscape that Lambda provides, and every one of these tools, starting from mug marking, project management, analytics, communication, all of these are just one-click integrations. What that by that what I mean is, if I click on any one of them, so as you can see in my account, I already have Jira as well as Teams integrated, and I'll show it to you how I will be able to use it while I'm working with it. But let's say if I want to integrate another tool, you could just click on it, enter in your username, the credentials, as well as the access key or the access token, which gives you the access rights of that project in your specific tool, and that's it. In a few seconds, the integration will be set up, and you'll be able to just simply use it while you're performing the test. I'll just relaunch this particular session. And this integration that I was talking about, it helps you not only mark the bug, but it will also make it easier, because while you're marking a bug or while you're raising a defect, what you're doing is, while you're working, you download all of the proofs that you've conducted the test, you download all of the instances of the test that are getting conducted, you note down the operating system, the browser, the subversion, everything separately, and then you directly raise it out to to the team, to the developer team, so that they can look into it. However, how life becomes easier is, while you're working, let's say you found out an error. Let's say this Google search has an incorrect font and I want to mark it as a bug. So I'll just simply click on mark as bug. What it does is it captures a screenshot of the viewport where I'm working, and let's say if this is the bug, so I can simply highlight it. And you also get different tools where I can add a text, I can highlight it, I can add different colors. Howsoever I want to do it, I can highlight it. Below it, you can see that I'm also getting the browser version, the operating system, as well as the resolution on which I found the bug. And on the right hand side is where the integrations come into picture. So first one that you see here, the Lambda test, this is a by default integration that Lambda test provides. So if in case you do not have any bug marking tools that you use, you can use a Lambda test by default bug marking tool. But in my case, as I mentioned, that I have Jira integrated. So here, I'll just click on this mark as bug icon. So as soon as I click on mark as bug icon, in a few seconds, a screen would load up with all the information required to file a bug in my Jira. So here in my case, it's asking for a project. So let's say I'll add a project. I'll assign it to myself. I'll leave the component because that's not mandatory. I'll assign it as a bug, demo bug. And since rest all of the fields are not mandatory, I'll just simply leave it for now. Before marking bug, I would also like to take your attention to this particular checkmark. Here you can see that also gives you an option to send it to Microsoft Teams as well. Since I had integrated with both of these, Jira as well as Teams, so I have an option to directly raise a bug to the Jira account, so that the developer or whosoever is supposed to test it out or check it out can directly check it. But also you can get a log of that particular bug in your communication channel as well. I'll just simply click on mark as bug, and in a few seconds on the top right, you'll see a confirmation stating that the bug has been logged successfully. But let's say if you don't want to log a bug, or if this particular issue or error is being looked upon by someone who's not working inside the team, but this particular thing has been outsourced for us, for example. So for those cases, you also have an option where you can click on the share option, and you can directly create a shareable link, for which you have an option to set an expiry ranging between 7 days to a month, and you can directly send it to anyone who's who does not even have access to a Lambda test, or whosoever is working outside the team, so that they can directly work on the issue or the bug that you have found out or reported. Other than that, you also have an option. Let's say if you want to download it and keep it in your local, you have an option to download it, or you can save it into gallery for later as well. Then comes the second feature called the video. So how video comes in handy, or how video is helpful, is, for example, let's say if you're working on the issue, but there's an issue which comes up intermittently, and it cannot be captured in a screenshot because it just comes for a blip, or just comes for a second. So for those scenarios, you need a complete recorded video, the complete steps that you took to see how the issue got reproduced and how it came in. For those scenarios, we provide you an option where you get the video recording, where as soon as you start the recording, each and every action that you perform inside the session, from starting from clicking to opening a new URL, anything that you do gets recorded, and you can share that recording, download that, and share that recording with the developers or whosoever the concerned team is, so that they can look into the exact step by step of what you did when that bug was you found that bug, and they can also try to reproduce it using the same steps. Then comes the gallery. So gallery is basically nothing, but it holds the screenshots as well as the videos that you captured. So you can see here that it has all the screenshots, but video, it takes a few seconds for the video to load up, because as soon as I stopped the video, I came into the gallery. So here now you can see that video is also here. And let's say in case while you're testing, you just do not want to mark a bug or raise a bug just by clicking at the first instant or the first screenshot that you found, but you want to still continue testing and log bug with multiple screenshots together. So that also can be done, where from the gallery you can just select all of these screenshots one by one, depending on whatever you feel relevant. And from here also you can click on mark as bug, and automatically here also it will open up a dialog box similar with all the features that I just showed you, and you can raise a bug from here as well. Then comes the Chrome extension. So similar to what I showed you outside, the Selenium IDE extension that I added from outside. So I'd also like to uh, why is the extension tab hidden? Okay, I'll show it to you. So as I was saying, from here you can add the different extensions. You can add multiple extensions from here as well. Then comes in the resolutions. For example, let's say if the issue reported by one of the users or one of the customers is on a particular resolution, and you want to reproduce, or you want to try reproducing it on that particular resolution. So on the fly, while you're working on the system, currently the system resolution is 1920 into 1080, but on whichever resolution you have your client reproducing or your client complaining that there is an issue on this particular resolution, on the fly you can just simply select between the different resolution lists that you have, simply select it and click on apply, and automatically in the same session the resolution will be adjusted to that particular resolution, and you can again start with and perform your testing. Then comes in geolocation. So this is one feature that comes in very much handy, where if you're testing a website that supports localization, that is, if you're testing an application um, which is accessed almost all around the globe, and based on different locations, based on different parts of the world, it has a different UI, it has a different interface, it has different options which you want to test. So for example, you're a tester who's currently sitting in India and testing out an application. So based on your system in India, the website will load up based on your location. So let's say you also want to test out how the application for someone who's testing out their application, or testing out the same application as Israel, or let's say in US, is how the application is viewed for them. And if there's a bug in their UI, or if there's a bug in their interface, how that can be found. So geolocation comes into picture to sort out those issues, where you can just simply select the geolocation from the different geolocations that we provide, and just by one click, what it'll do, it'll automatically route the traffic from that particular geolocation that you selected, and the application that you're seeing on the screen, if it supports a localization, that is, if it has a different behavior based on different locations set, the application will adjust itself as well as all of its options and CSS and different, let's say if it's pricing for that matter, it'll adjust itself based on how it looks from that particular region, and you can start working or start testing out on that particular application. Then comes upload. So there are use cases where you might have to test out, or you might want to check or upload a file, or you might want to upload specific files onto the application that you're testing. Here, since this particular device that you're seeing, or the particular machine, that browser that we have provided, in that particular machine you'll not find the files or documents which you need or which you might want to upload. So for that, we provide you an option called upload files. By this, what you can do is, as soon as you choose or click on upload files, you can directly select the files that you want to upload from your local machine. Let's say any of the files that I want to upload, or uh, I want to do, I can just simply upload it. And as soon as I upload the file, it will just get directly uploaded into this machine. And wherever or I want to use that file, or I want that file to be used directly from this particular machine, I can pick up that file. Basically, the upload files feature allows you to pick up files from your local machine and directly put them into a folder in this particular machine that you're working. And later, while you're testing, or if you want to test upload, you can just directly pick up the files that you've already uploaded and already added in this particular machine. And you don't even have to worry about that the files that you've uploaded, let's say if you don't want them to be left on the machine, or you want to delete those files, because all of the machines that you get while you're running the test session, these are freshly created machines. By that, what I mean is, currently the session that I have opened for me, currently it's only me who has access to this machine, and only I can work, or I can perform actions in this machine. And as soon as I'll go ahead and end this particular session, what will happen is this particular machine would be pulled out of the generic pool. It will be put into the maintenance pool, and we run a service on it called sanitization. What that means is, anything that happened during the session, let's say if you changed or added some cookies, or if the machine saved some cache, or let's say if you added some files, or if you loaded some files, anything that happened during the session, we clear it off, we wipe it off, and we make sure that the machine, before going back into our generic pool of machines from where you can get selected for another use, it is cleared off and cleaned off of any residue of the last session which ran on this particular machine. Then you will have a few additional settings. So depending on, the first one is idle timeout. Depending on, let's say if it's not just one task that you're working on, but you're working on multiple tasks together, and you don't want the session to be timed out while you're inactive on the Lambda test. For example, let's say you're working on two different projects, or you're working on two different uh, sites. So currently, you're working on Lambda test, you have performed a few steps, you have reached a particular step, just a few steps left, and you leave the machine and you want to come back after some time to use the machine again. So for those sessions, or for those use cases where you want to leave the machine idle, you have the option to choose idle timeout ranging between 5 minutes to 60 minutes. However, we suggest you to keep it to a bare minimum of 5 minutes, so that it does not eat into your available concurrency. But if it requires, you can increase it up to a value of 60 minutes. Then comes scale. So if there's a requirement where you want to scale the size, you can do that. If you want to even select a time zone, or you want to test the application on a separate time zone, you have an option to do that as well by just simply clicking on the available time zone. We talked about geolocation earlier. You can also have an option to change the, sorry, default keyboard layout, as well as we also give you an option to do the accessibility testing as well. Under accessibility, what you provide as of now is the screen reader option. So here, as soon as you select this particular checkbox, this will give you the spoken description of the web application that's open. I'll just close this. Right. And the first option that you see here on the left hand side, which says switch, this means that let's say you have done or you have performed the testing on this current operating system browser as well as the resolution, and you want to change it to a different one. So you don't have to all the way go back, end the session, and restart it again, but you can simply click on switch and select between different operating systems, browsers, or even different simulators that you provide, and simply fire up or start up a session. So let's say if I want to start a session on an iPhone emulator, just simply select it and click on start. So this will again use the base URL that I had earlier used and fire up a session or launch up a session for me in the newly selected operating system browser configuration on Lambda test. So as you can see here now, the same application google.com has now been launched up in the iPhone 14 Pro simulator, sorry. And here also again we get all of the same options, starting from mark as bug, record a video, then you also get the gallery. Here in case of mobile devices, here also we give you the DevTools option, where since this is an iOS device and you're currently working with Safari. So we give you the option of both Safari Web Inspector as well as Chrome DevTools. So whichever is needed, you can select that, and you can get into the elements, the console logs, sources, network. So if you want to debug while you're working on a mobile device, so you can also do that while you're working with Lambda test. Then since it's a device, so I'll close this. Yeah, since it's a device, here also you get an option to rotate the device and check it, and under settings here as well you get an option to change the idle timeout. Since it's a device, you have an option to choose network throttling. What that means is, let's say if you have a client base which is spread about, let's talk about India itself, where the not everyone has an option to or not everyone yet there's an option to use 5G. So let's say if you want to test if one of your clients who's using 4G, how the application is being for them. So you have an option where you can throttle the network to 4G, 3G, or slow 3G as well, to see how the application that you're currently testing behaves in these different uh, bandwidth speeds or different networks. Or if there's a custom speed that you know that you're aware of where your client is facing an issue, so you have an option where you can just simply click on custom, choose the or add the download speed, upload speed, as well as latency, and test it on there as well. So this was a quick overview about browser testing on the desktop browsers as well as mobile browsers. These mobiles that, as I mentioned, the mobile devices that you see here, these are all emulators and simulators. These are not actual real devices. Again, I'd just like to repeat my point that Lambda supports both emulators, simulators, as well as real devices, and an extensive session for the real devices part would be conducted on 31st. Okay. Since it's been some time, let me check if there are any Q&A.
Neeraj, I think few points I wanted to take up. So first of all, I see there are a lot of questions related to the security of the application. So that is I want something to clear up. So first of all, there are many built-in layers in the Lambda test platform to ensure that the platform overall is pretty secure and all the testing you are doing is in a very secure environment. So for example, all the data that you have uploaded, all the data that is there on stored on the Lambda platform, that is end-to-end encrypted. All the data at rest and data in transit is encrypted as per latest standards. Apart from that, one of the built-in security feature is that whatever testing you are doing, once the testing ends, that whole machine gets wiped out. The whole machine gets renewed, so any data that is there gets automatically deleted. We have automated checks in place that ensure all of the whole machine is renewed. In addition, when you are testing on a machine, only you as a tester will have access to that machine. Nobody else, including Lambda test internal employees, do not have access to that machine. So that means your testing is completely secure over there. Any files upload that you have done for testing, any other things, credentials that you may have added into the testing, or anything that you have added in the testing extension and everything gets wiped out before that machine gets assigned to anybody else. So that ensure, and that is also there for real devices, that is also there for emulators and simulators, for desktop, for all the browsers that there are. So the whole machine gets wiped out before any other testing happens. In addition, our data related to US geographies, say in US geographies, for Europe stays in US Europe geography. So we are GDPR compliant, we are CCPA compliant. We are also again not storing any data for a longer period of time. So that means we do not have let's say long period of security vulnerability in that side. You can in fact extract all of this data using APIs, or if required delete all of the data that is there using our APIs as well. So that way as well we are covered. If you have any more questions related to security, again feel free to drop a mail at support at the rate of namates.com, or check out our the security documentation that we have available, privacy documentation that we have available, or feel free to drop by at our website for in-app chat, and we'll be able to help you out with in-depth security questions that you may have, right? Neeraj, I think we can pick up one-to-one questions from Q&A section.
Q&A section. Yep. Right. I think the first question is quiz going to be MCQ only? I think yes. The answer is yes to that. The quizzes would be MCQ. Hi, is Lambda test similar to Sauce Labs? Yes, you can say that. Lambda test, in a way, is similar to Sauce Labs. We are a direct competitor to Sauce Labs. But uh, on top of Sauce Labs, we do have additional features, as well as we give you the better performance. And in the coming sessions, you'll also learn about a new product that LambTest has, which is a unique identifier, which none of our competitors have as well. What kind of technical background do you need for working with Lambda test? Mudit, would you like to take that?
So there is no actual technical background required. Anybody can start off with Lambda tests, even for manual exploratory testing. If you want to do automation based testing, you would need a little bit of understanding on how the automation testing works, tools and techniques required in that. But apart from that, we are more of a test execution platform. So you would be able to get started without any technical know-how as well. So open up browsers, start testing, open up real devices, you can start testing.
Uh, can we perform testing of Salesforce CRM applications using Lambda test? If yes, what advantages it has over specific automation tools like Provar or Tricentic? Uh, to answer your question, Subhashish, the answer is yes. You can perform, you can use, or you can run Salesforce CRM application test on Lambda test. Uh, but this would the advantages you'd see in the session, while one of our sessions for HyperExecute will be conducted, where he'll be talking more about how you can perform Salesforce or different applications, or use different applications over Lambda test, and how we give you, or what are the different advantages of something like orchestration and different features that we provide on top of giving you all the features. How to test applications which needs VPN connections. I will be talking about a feature Lambda test has, we like to call as tunnel. Can we get access to Lambda test tools so that we'll get hands-on experience? I think with the registrations done, the access was also provided. Mudit, I think this is Pushpam Patil who's requesting. Can we check with the team if he has access or not?
Yeah, please, Pushpam, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you out. Next question, please.
Right. Any particular port that needs to be enabled for testing using Lambda test? No, there's no specific port or anything required. You just need a browser. You just need to fire up the Lambda test application like I did, and you can start testing. Does Lambda test supports role-based testing? Uh,
So this is a
I
use
am
case. This is a use case that you can, of course, test at Lambda test. It depends upon the kind of the test scripts or test sequence that you have. So we have the infrastructure over which you can test, but an out of the Fox feature just to test this, that is not there. But we'll be happy to. We will be providing you the mobile devices, the desktop browsers, and everything that can enable you to test this use case.
uh, let's say you have updated Chrome version available in the market today. So LT will automatically take it up, the new version, or will it take a few days or sometimes to update the version and its capabilities?
So new
So
version at our platform comes within a week. In fact, 1 to 2 days after it launch, and even the beta version would be available. So as soon as the Chrome or Firefox or Safari teams launches the beta version, we update that in a day or two at our platform. And if any new version like long-term support version comes from Chrome, Firefox, we'll be updating at our platforms in a day or two.
right. If Jira belongs to a client, can we still integrate that? Yes. So we support both cloud-based as well as self-hosted Jiras. So if it is self-hosted, there are a few IP addresses that we provide that needs to be whitelisted. But yes, that is supported. How to initially integrate Jira? I can share with you the proper documentation, but it's pretty or straightforward, very simple. You just need your Jira credentials as well as an API token that's created from Jira, and you can go ahead and integrate. It's just a one-click integration. Do we get the bug ID for Microsoft Teams or any option to check the ID in the tool? Yes, on our tool, as soon as you mark as bug, I will show it to you. Uh, you have an option where you can see all of the bugs that you have marked or raised it on the tool. Any way to identify already raised bugs to avoid duplicate? So the integrations that you see on Lambda test, these are all one-way integrations. What that means is, so from here you can just simply click on the bugs or raise the bugs to your team, but you from that bug marking tool, anything that responds or anything that you add in cannot be pulled back. And since we do not get into the bugs and we do not know what is added into the bugs, so currently there's no way to check if, let's say, I marked a bug and if Mudit also wants to mark the same bug, if it's duplicate or not. But yes, you have an option where you can go into the bug marking option. I'll show it to you, from where you can see the different bugs that has been launched by your team, where the bug will be reflected or saved that you have created using interaction Jira. So bug will for sure reflect in your Jira for sure. But on Lambda test as well, there will be a link from where you can open. I'll just, since so many people have that question, let me show it to you right away. Yep. So this is the issue tracker page under more tools that we have. And under this issue tracker page, all of the different bugs that you mark, be it Jira, be it the Lambda's default tool, or any other tools that you can use, for all of them, you'll get these all details as well as a direct link to the bug that you marked as well. So if I click on this, it'll directly open up my Jira where I marked a bug, and I'll be able to see the details that I raised down here. Going back to questions. Heading where will the bug reflect? Yeah, I think that's answered. Does video evidence has any size constraints? No, so there is no specific size constraints as of now for the video. You can record the video. The only constraint is currently the video cannot be directly logged into with the bug marking tool due to API restrictions. But that's in one of our coming roadmap features that we'll be adding it up. How can we provide access token for Jira or other apps for integration? Each of the applications has a different way, but yes, I will share you the document. In our documentation, we have given you a direct link from where you can get the access token for Jira or other tools directly. Can we share the cut videos as well? As in, my recording is of 5 minutes and I encountered the defect in the last 2 minutes only. What and I want to send that 2-minute video to Laravel, can it be done? So currently from Lambda test, what you can do is you can download the video, and if you want to cut it, since you download the video on your local machine, from your local machine, if you want to cut it, if you want to edit it, you are free to do it, and you can share just that part of the video with your developers. Is it mandatory to keep the geolocation? It is not mandatory. So it's up to you. If you have an application that supports geolocation or has geolocation, you can for sure keep it, or else you don't even have to use geolocation if that's not needed. Can we use IE mode in Edge to test legacy web apps designed to vulnerable? Yes, that is supported, and you can use that. Is LambTest used only for web application testing? No, we support web apps as well as native apps. So currently what I covered was for web apps, but uh, more on the native app side, you'll see or you learn about in the real device session. But we also support it in emulators. I'll talk about it as well, where the uploaded files are getting stored in this particular machine. So in that particular machine that I showcased you there, all of the files that you upload, that will get stored in E drive of that machine. And as soon as you upload the file as well, you'll get the storage location just under the file as well. Can it be integrated with DevOps? Yes, it can be integrated with DevOps. Why resolution is important? Does Lambda test only work for only for look and feel testing? So resolution comes, so it's totally up to you if you want to use resolution or not. So resolution only comes into picture. For example, let's say if one of my clients is using a resolution on their desktops, which is might be an older resolution, and they see that the particular application, my application that they're testing, is breaking on that particular resolution. So for those use cases where I want to reproduce, or I do not have the machine of that resolution, Lambda test supports or gives you that particular resolution on which you can reproduce that issue and see or check or raise it to your developers to check what that particular issue was.
So this will help you in responsive testing of your apps, and you can again check with different resolutions. We have mobile devices as well that can help you out, right? I think Neeraj, we have a lot of questions. I think we should take it at the end of the session because I see a lot of questions going around the automation testing part of things as well. So maybe we can start with the automation session. In the meantime, I'll be answering over the chat the answers.
Sure, Madit. Let me go back to my deck then. Right. So to continue with, I think someone had a question where how we can perform or how we can test a private application or an application which is behind a VPN or a localhost application on Lambda test. So for that, we provide a utility we like to call as tunnel. So what this tunnel is basically nothing but a small binary or a utility which you can simply fire up or start running it on your local machine or the particular machine on which you have access to that application which you want to test. Basically what it does is it creates a secure SSH connection between your network and the Lambda test device on which you want to test, and the application that you want to test gets connected. So I'll just quickly showcase it to you. So if I go back onto the real-time testing part, so here on the top right, you see there is an option for configure tunnel. So under configure tunnel, there are two ways actually you can do it. One of them is a binary or a command line feature where you can just simply download the binary file directly. Once this binary file is downloaded into your folder, you just need to extract it, open it into your terminal, and just simply copy and run this command into your terminal or command prompt depending on the machine you're using. The second way to connect that tunnel is the desktop application. So this desktop application that you see here, we like to call it as underpass. So I'll just quickly open that up for you. So this underpass, what I'm talking about, this particular application that you see here, this also works on the same binary tunnel as well, but this is more of a graphical user interface version, where how you want to connect to tunnel is you just need to use the Lambda test username as well as the access key. From where you can get it is if you click on the top profile section, under profile, you'll get your Lambda test username as well as access key uh, from here. Yeah. and get the lambdas username as well as the lambdas access key from here, which you can use it uh, to start up tunnel. Or the other way is, if I go back, for particularly this desktop application, you also have an option where you can just simply click on this magic link and it will automatically fill up your details onto the application as well. And then you can add any particular name to your tunnel. So I've just added test demo, and under the configuration, so on top of tunnel or a private network, like if there's a proxy as well, you have an option to configure an additional proxy on top of the existing one. Or you also have an option where you can change the connection mode if you want to use a shared tunnel, which means that everyone in the team wants to use the same tunnel. You can use that as well. Then you also have an option to use MITM, which means that, let's say, if the application which you're testing or the application on which you're performing the testing, if that does not have a public certificate which is recognized by public browsers and has a self-signed certificate, so for most of them you might get a error. So MITM will automatically take care of those errors if you enable that. But how you simply to run the tunnel is simply enter in your username, your access key, any tunnel name that you want to add, and just simply click on launch. As soon as you click on launch, in a few seconds, you'll see here that the tunnel is running. And now since the tunnel is running, if I go back to the application on the top right, where you see configure tunnel, if I refresh it, you can see here that one tunnel is now active. So here, if you can see here in one of my screens, I have a localhost PHP server that's running. I think it's closed. I'll restart it again. Let's say if I want to open this particular application, so if I open it up here in my local, so this is how this page looks like. So now if I go into Lambda test, let's say I open it up, I'll remove the tunnel for now and quickly click on start. Oh, let's do it on a desktop browser so that it becomes more visibly clear. Yep. So you can see here that currently it shows 404 page not found because I did not connect to tunnel, and since it's a localhost server that I'm running, it did not get the request from there. Now, if I enable the tunnel that I was running and again restart the same session, now you should be able to see here a page similar to this on the Lambda's dashboard. So this is how simple it is to connect with any of your private uh, applications directly onto Lambda test. Right. Right. From tunnel, let's move on to another manual testing utility that LambTest provides. So LambTest has, I mean, not just it provides you the operating system and browsers to test your applications on different browsers, operating systems, versions to find out bugs, but we also have a Chrome-based tool we like to call as LT browser. So I'll just fire this up, LT browser. Which helps you in responsive testing. So with different applications, as I mentioned, different applications, different use cases, different user base. So one thing that you can do to perform this responsive testing is fire up sessions on all of the different browsers, operating systems, different devices to see if the application is responsive enough and is performing as expected. But what you can also do, or what's a simpler way, is Ramtest provides a Chromium-based desktop application we like to call as LT browser. So what this LT browser provides you is it gives you 50 plus different device skins of all the different devices, desktops, as well as tablets. Most common ones are already added, and you can just simply choose and select. What it does is based on the application that you add in here, and if you choose the different skins, if the application is responsive enough and the application adjusts itself to the browser automatically while you're selecting, it will automatically get adjusted and you'll be able to see that the application is perfectly responsive. And on top of that, as you can see that I'm moving on one particular device and it's automatically moving on the other device as well. So you have the option to work with not just one but two devices simultaneously. So if you want to test out the responsiveness of the application on different uh, operating systems, or sorry, on different viewports. Let's say on the left hand side you want to open up a mobile device, on the right hand side, let's say if I want to open up a tablet, for example. So I have an option to do that and I can simultaneously work with both of them. On top of that, what we also provide is, let's say if out of these available uh, devices, you do not have the viewport size or the size on which you want to test. So we also give an option to add a custom device depending on the size that you want to add. So let's say I'll add the name as test and I'll just leave this size a random size and I'll click on add device. As soon as I do add device, what I'll get is a resolution or a viewport of the custom size that I have specified, and you'll be able to test on that as well. Along with that, on the top of it, you also get few additional options where if you want to capture a screenshot of the if you want to capture the screenshot of the page, or if you want to capture that too, if you want to capture the full page screenshot or just the viewport, you can do that. Or if you want to rotate the device to see how responsive it is, you want to debug while you're working, you get the developer tools here as well. Then you have an option to record a video as well as network throttling here as well. On top of that, with LT browser, you also get the performance report. That is, it has a direct integration with Google Lighthouse, and you get a reporting of all the parameters that Google Lighthouse supports. It takes some time to generate the report. So I'll just open up one that's already created. And here, as you can see, what you get is the performance report on desktop score, mobile score, as well as the different matrices and the opportunities on the uh, Google Lighthouse. I'll just close these ones. Right. This was all about, or a quick overview on the manual side of the LAMP test platform. Let's now quickly jump onto the automation side, or how you can perform automation on Lambda test. Before starting into, or before getting into the automation, I'd quickly like to take you to the automation dashboard that we have. So this that you see here on the screen, or that's coming up on my screen, is the automation dashboard, where you'll get the details of each and every builds, the tests that you run, along with the different details that you provide. But how you can reach this, or how you can get till here, is just a two-step integration process. And what that two-step integration is, let's get into one of my code bases and quickly have a look at it. I'll just change the view of it. Right. So here, this is a basic Java code that I have. So Lambda test for automation supports all the different languages, frameworks that you have, that you might think of. Any language, any framework that you might have, that can be integrated with Lambda test, because for all of the languages and frameworks, it's just a two-step integration process that I'll be showcasing it to you here. So here, if we talk about this particular code, so I can see I'm just opening up a website, performing a few clicks on the application, and that's it. So here, let's leave out the commented part. So here, what I'm currently trying to do is trying to run it on my local Chrome browser. So let's say if I want to run it, I think I'll have to. Right. So the tests has already started, and this is the actions that is getting performed, but this is not on Lambda test, but currently this is currently being performed on my local Chrome browser. But now let's say I want to replicate or do perform all of these actions on Lambda test. So what are the changes that I need to do? So I'll just close this now, go back into the code. So from here, as I mentioned, that it's just a two-step integration process. So I'll just comment that out for now and keep this. So what those two things are? First is that you need a lambda test, uh, sorry, username and access key. So in order to run your tests on lambda test, you need to have a lambda test username and access key, because lambda test needs to authenticate you as a user and then help you run the tests on the lambda test hub. And the second thing that you need along with the LAMP test username and access key is the hub URL. And what this hub URL is? Hub URL is basically the address on which the uh, devices behind which you get all of the devices, the operating systems on which you want to run the tests. So this is the first thing that you need. That's lambda test username, access key, and the hub URL. The second thing that you need or you want to run is the capabilities. So capabilities. So once you get the user key, username, access key, then you also need to instruct that particular lambda test grid as to what particular version, what particular version you want to run the test on. So for that, we have a YouTube page. We like to call it capability generator. You just need to click on this question mark icon, click on capability generator, and you can see here you'll get a extensive capability generator which also supports different languages. So currently, let's say I'm using Java. So I'll just keep it like this. Select Selenium. I'll just make the selection of the browser, the version I want to run. If I want to do, I can choose additional capabilities like operating system, screen resolution. There are ton number of capabilities that we support for different builds, tests, and as well as for tests, if you want separate logs as to network logs, the command logs, the screenshots on each and every command. So for all of that, we have different capabilities that you can enable from here and run it on Lambda test. So as you can see, based on my selection, on the right hand side, it's automatically created the capability object for me. And depending on Selenium 4 and Selenium 3, you can select it. Since in Selenium 4, the desired capabilities has been deprecated and it works on the browser based options. So you can either select that or select any one of them. So I'll just copy this for now, and yeah, I'll go back here. So I already have it similar to as I showed you. I already have the I'll just uncomment it for now. Yeah, I already have the WebDriver as well as the capabilities added in my file, and it's very similar to what I uh, just copied. And then once I have both the username, access key, as well as the capabilities, the only thing that I need to do is to create a remote WebDriver connection. And what that remote WebDriver connection includes is all of the four things that we just talked about. That is my Lambda test username, my Lambda test access key, the Lambda test hub URL that we just talked about, and the capability object that's just created. So from here, if you see, the browser options is created, and that's all we need. So now the integration is done, the setup is done, and this is the similar setup that you would have to do for any language or any framework that you're working with, be it Java, JavaScript, C Sharp, Python, any language framework you talk about. These exact same steps you'll have to do. The syntax might change depending on the languages, but the steps would remain exactly similar. Now let's say if I have to give it a run again. Mm, let's go back to our Lambdas platform and have a look. Yep. So as you can see here that I just ran a test from there, and the same test has landed up here. And sorry. And on the left hand side, as I mentioned, so these are all the different builds that you get on the Lambdas dashboard. And one of the build name bootcamp, I had specified it my capabilities. It has been landed up here. And here you get the tests. And as soon as I click into or get into the test, what you'll see or what you'll get on the Lambdas dashboard is the complete overview or the complete view of your test, starting from the live video. That is, if I go here and click on the video, I can see the live execution of that test happening on my web application. I also have an option where I can get the access of this browser. So we also provide you an option called live interaction, where while the test is running, let's say if you want to get into the browser or get into the access of the browser to let's say, debug, or you want to perform some actions, or you want to see if an element failed, why it failed. You want to get into the console logs of the browser on which you're working with. Anything you can do by just getting into the live interaction while the session is running, and you can take control of the browser on which the automated test is running, and start interacting with it manually. I'll close this. Yeah. Just below it, you also get the basic info, the input config, that is the complete set of capabilities, the videos that's recorded. Along with that, on the right hand side, you get the complete list of command logs that it has. So starting from the URL command, the first command that you hit, to the last command that you get. And all of these commands, if you see here, are also can be interacted by the video as well. So as soon as you click on this video button in front of the command, the video itself adjusts to the exact same point where that command has been executed. Along with that, you also have the option for the network logs. So as I mentioned, all of these logs are enabled using capability. So in my case, if you see that I did not have the network capability set to true, that's why uh, these particular networks are not appear. But as soon as you set the capability network true, you will get all of the detailed network logs of the interaction that the application did, all the HTTPS calls. Along with that, sorry, along with that, you can also have an option to get the screenshots on each and every command while you're running. So for that, we have a capability called visual, where with each and every command that you're running, you'll get the screenshots. Then under the logs, you also have an option to get the raw Selenium logs. The test is running, that's why it has not created it yet. But as soon as the test ends, you'll get the Selenium logs as well as the console logs. And console logs, what I mean is the basic browser console logs that you get. So if the application failed, or if there was some error on the browser console, that also gets captured, and you will see that in the Lambda dashboard. Other than that, on the top of it, you have the test name, the test ID. Test ID is basically a unique ID on Lambda side. Test name, you can specify it based on what your particular test is. Then you also get the high level details of what was the browser version, what was the operating system resolution. Along with that, you also get the details of what was the session ID. This is the basic Selenium session ID that you get. Then you have the test ID, the status, and all of the different details that are required. Right. So going back to my code base quickly, I'll just move it to a normal view. Appearance, exit. Yeah. I'll just into another class. Right. So what you saw right now is how you can integrate with Lambda test, and how you can run your tests on Lambda test by simply changing or making just the two changes on your existing code base. But as you know by now, that Lambda test is an infrastructure provider, and we give you all of the infrastructure, all of the devices, operating systems. So Lambda test also gives you the power to run your tests parallelly, the same test parallelly on multiple operating system and browsers. So I'll just take you to one of my other code base that I have. So this is a simple test case. The test case here again is pretty similar. The only difference is here now this is a Java TestNG base. So the only difference now where it comes is here where I'm specifying the capabilities, here I'm using the values as parameterized. By that, what I mean is, so these values now I'm getting from a additional file which I have, which is the XML file, and this XML file specifies the value to my file at runtime, and uh, the same test case for me would be executed on Chrome as well as on Safari. So now if I go back into my particular test class, I also want to add, so as you mentioned, these are the different capabilities that I added, and I also want to add another capability. Now let's say I want to execute the same test cases on two different browsers, and which is one is on Chrome and another one is Safari. So LambTest does support you, or does provide you the ability to run tests parallelly as well. So from here, let's say if I execute this particular file now, So as you can see, the test is started. So what basically it does is all of the values that are passed from here, the browser version platform, these values are fed into the parameters that I have passed here, and the test runs on two different browsers. Rest everything is the same. You have the username access key as well as the driver or the grid URL that we talked about. And if I go back to the dashboard once again, so here you can see a new session has been fired up. Apologies. And the same test is now running on two different browsers. One is uh, Safari on Mac, and the other one is Chrome on Windows 10. And again, if I get into any of these sessions, you'll be able to see everything again. As we just discussed is similar, where you'll get the access to the complete video, the logs, and everything. Probably here, as soon as the test session ends, we'll also be able to see the network logs as well as the uh, command logs as well. Sorry, as well as the Selenium logs as well. Right. So I'll wait for the session to complete, because with Chrome, since the same Google Lighthouse or the Google report that you showcase or that I showed you in case of LT browser, you also have an option where you can create it with the automation test as well. So here, as you can see, along with the tabs that you already saw, the network logs and then the Selenium logs and the browser console logs, along with those tabs, now you also have another tab here which is called the performance. And here, what it has done, it has created a performance report or the performance metrics based on the URL that I had passed and given me the complete reporting. Synaptest also supports Google Lighthouse performance report in case of automation tests as well, where you just need to pass the capability performance true that I just added in this particular test, and you'll start seeing that on the automation dashboard. Right. Now, you might be thinking, or you might have a question where, I mean, you get a lot of information on the dashboard. What if you want to use that information, or how can you get these information to get into a report or publish into a report? So all of these that you see here, starting from video, screenshots, or all of the logs, all of these you can directly get using the Lambda Test APIs. So we have direct APIs for each and every session that you run, and for each and every log, video, screenshots, everything that you get, you have an option where you can just directly get into my apologies, where you can directly get into the Lambda Test API documentation. And here we have different APIs for builds, sessions, and inside sessions you have an APIs to fetch all the screenshots, the videos, the logs, etc. And all of these APIs you can directly get and directly fetch all of these data using these APIs, which you can use in the reporting if you want to create. And so there are a few post APIs as well. So let's say if you want to add a few additional files, that is pre-run files, before you want to actually see the execution, so you also have an option where you can add the pre-run or directly upload the pre-run files, or use cases where, so just like we talked about in case of the manual session, even in this particular file, this particular machine, you won't get any particular file for the upload use cases. So even in case of automation, where you're running the test session, or where you are running a use case to upload a file, so for those use cases as well, we have an API called the user files. So basically what this does is, you have an option where, using this particular API, the particular files or the set of files that you need to use while you're running an automated session, you can already pre-upload it into Lambda Test. While you're running the session, using one of the capabilities, user files capability, you can fetch and get all of those files into the Lambda Test machine or the Lambda Test dashboard on which your test is running. And just by specifying the path of that file, you can use it at the time of upload as well. And as I mentioned, the Lighthouse report, then you can also run an API. Let's say if you want to see the concurrency. So basically, since Lambda test works on the basis of parallels as well as concurrency. So if you want to see at a particular time how much of your concurrency is free and how much is being used, you have an option to use it via that APIs as well. Right. Similarly, in case of automation, as I mentioned, we support all the different browsers, operating systems, devices, emulators, simulators, etc. So even if this particular, the exact same test case that you have run, if you want to run it on an emulator and simulator per se, so there also there's no much change that's needed. Instead of Selenium that you selected, just select APM and select the capability object from here depending on the devices that you've selected. So as soon as you select an APM, I'll just toggle this real device off because we're not talking about real device. We're just talking about emulators and simulators. You will just select on Android or iOS depending on the devices I want to use. I'll select on the particular device, its version, and on the right hand side, I'll again get a complete capability object. And this capability object, I can simply copy and use it in my existing code base. And the test currently where it was running on the desktop would start now running on. As soon as I copy this and sorry, yeah. As soon as I copy the particular capability and paste it in my code base, the test which was running on the desktop would start running on the mobile browser as well. Real devices, as I mentioned, is also supported, but that would be a separate session altogether. I think I went back. I think that was a quick overview or a quick session from my side on Lambda test manual as well as on automation.
Neeraj, if possible, can you showcase the parallel testing again? I see there are a lot of questions around that part.
Sure. Right. So in my case, in this particular, okay, I will right. So talking about the parallel testing part. So again, the integration remains similar. There is no change in the integration. So in my case, this is a Java TestNG project that I'm using. And since Java TestNG allows me to use different annotations, in my before test, I have my capabilities object specified. And in this particular capabilities object, the three base values, which is the platform on Lambda test, we want to get if it's Windows 10, Windows 11, on what particular platform you want to, or operating system you want to run the test. Then comes browser name, where you can specify Chrome, Edge, IE, all of those, and then the version of the browser. So here in my case, these three values that you see here, these are parameterized. By that, what I mean is the value of these three particular is coming from, if I go again, from this particular XML file. Right. So if you see here, the value of the browser, Chrome, version latest, and platform, this is coming from here, and the second value is coming from here. And these values are getting fed into those capabilities where it's running into parallel. So depending on how the language or framework that you're using, how that supports uh, the parallelization, the same way that can be used on Lambda test as well. The only thing is, depending on what browser OS version you want to run, just select it from the Lambda test capability generator, specify it in your capability values, and the test would start running.
So here the example is of TestNG. So TestNG has built-in features that enable parallel testing. But if you are not using TestNG, maybe a JavaScript framework, you can use, let's say, run same test with different parameterization through command line multiple times. That can also allow you to do parallel testing. Or if the framework that you are using, let's say like Nightwatch or Jest, they have built-in parallel capabilities, you can do that. Or you can also use a CI/CD pipeline tool that can also help you run tests in parallel. So for example, you are using Jenkins, so you can create a workflow using the CI/CD tools, or maybe like if you are using GitHub. So in the GitHub Actions, you can set up a CI/CD rule that you can run multiple sessions, multiple tests at the same time. So there are multiple ways you can achieve parallelization, and all of those would be supported at Lambda test. Cool. I think then we can take few of the questions, Neeraj.
Uh, sure. Before the questions, I'll just quickly talk about the roadmap that we have, and I will jump onto the questions.
Sure.
So with all of the features and all of the things that I talked about, Lambda Test is also coming up with additional feature owners. So this is a few points from the additional roadmap that we have, starting with shared session, multiple users, one session. So currently, the manual session where it is restricted, as we mentioned, that it's restricted to only one user. So we're trying to build an option where that particular session that you're running, or that particular session, let's say if you want to, while you're running the session, you want to give the access to that session to one of your developers or one of your teams, so that they can also see what's happening or what's uh, going on, or you want to give them a view access, or you want to give them an edit access, that is access to perform. So we are trying to come up with that feature. Then we are also trying to come up with pre-saved sessions, because uh, with the interaction we had with, or with the times we have seen with different users, we have seen that few of the steps in their test case, and specifically when it comes to manual testing, starting from, let's say, if you want to log in into an application before testing, if you want to perform few steps, and then your actual test case starts. So if the first 10 steps or 10 steps in your test case is the same for every time, we are trying to create, if there's a possibility, we can add a pre-saved session, so that you can use that pre-saved session every time, so that you don't have to manually perform that every time, and directly work on, or directly start with the new steps. Generate performance report for each URL. So currently, the Google Lighthouse report that you saw on the automation, that's works with only one URL, which means that if the test session that you're running has multiple URLs, it would only generate the performance report for one single URL, which would have the maximum time, because Google Lighthouse itself takes some time to generate that complete report. So it will only generate the report for one of the single URLs. However, we are also coming up with a feature where we can give you the performance report for all the URLs that you might have migrated while you're testing. Then flakiness test detector. So with the automation testing in place, with the automation runs getting increased, flakiness is one of the things that most of the QA community is struggling with. So we are trying to add up a feature where it will automatically, the tests that you're running on the AmpTest dashboard automatically detects the flakiness, and it will give you in a report as to these all tests that you're running are flaky, and these all tests which are running are not flaky. And also currently on Lambda test, what we support are two, I think this has been added by the time I created, but uh, what we earlier supported were two different statuses, which is failed as well as passed. But now we have additional statuses because of the requests that we received from customers. So on, other than failed and passed, we also have statuses called ignored, error, etc. So depending on what different statuses you want your test cases to have, you can set it using our JavaScript executor, and you can set those status on the lamp test dashboard. Yep. So I think we can quickly talk about the Q&A.
Neeraj, I think we should
Uh,
pick from the last. Now we will pick from bottom up.
okay. Is there integration with Tosca? Yes, we do have an integration with Tosca. Here also the steps are pretty similar. In Tosca, You just need to add the Lambda test username, access key, and the capabilities, and you can start running or utilize start running the test from Tosca to Lambda test. Do you have a minimum marks to be scored while taking the assessment for certification? Yes. Then, if you don't meet those minimum marks, then any other attempts will be provided. Mudit, can you take that?
Yeah, so there is a minimum marks to kind of complete the certification. If you do not meet the minimum marks, unfortunately, any other attempt would not be provided, at least for this testathon. But if you have any questions around this, feel free to drop us an email and we'll be happy to take your questions over there.
Can we get the PPT you're presenting? Uh, I think we can share it, Mudit, right?
Yes, yes, we can.
Can we automate API testing? So, with the current session that I showed you today with the Lambda standard platform, API testing is not supported directly, but with one of the tools that we have, we like to call as Hyper Execute, for which you'll have a session, I think this coming Friday. With that, yes, API testing is also possible. Can we mark some mask sensitive data? Yes, we do have a capability to mask the sensitive data under command logs, as well as the credentials.
In addition, we also have the feature to turn off the command log. So by default, it is turned off. Through desired capabilities, you have to ensure you have to make the logs enabled. But if you do not want those logs, you can turn it off. Apart from that, as a assurance again, coming back to the security point, all of these data is stored encrypted end to end. That is one. Apart from that, you can use our APIs to extract this data and then delete this data as well. Cool. Next question,
Thank you,
please.
Madhur. Is this session recorded? If yes, can you please share the details? Uh, I think
Yes,
Madhur,
this session would be recorded, and we'll be sharing the detail of this sessions through email shortly.
get recording of the session available. I think the question is similar.
I think there is a lot of questions around accessibility testing. I think there is a latest question around can Lambda test? No. How is accessibility testing performed? Is it a LT feature or does it utilize any plugin for this? So right now we provide the infrastructure that can be used for this accessibility testing. We are building up few features that can help you enable that. But yes, we are not 100% accessibility testing tool, but we have features that can enable you to do that. Plus, if you want to test in the native browsers the accessibility features, you can obviously do that both manually and automated. We also support accessibility testing frameworks like let's say Axe.js. We support that, so you can run your test using that. So any features that are supported in the browsers for specifically accessibility testing, you would have access to all of those, so you can do that. Yes, but specifically restricting to AA or AAA standards, that is not there as of now.
Uh, I think we're getting a lot of questions. uh, what is the minimum criteria to pass the assessment? Mudit, would you like to take that?
So right now the certifications, the pass percentage is 50 marks for each certification, but we will be sharing that with you shortly as well. And again, if you have any more questions around that, again, feel free to drop us a mail. We'll be happy to answer.
Uh, I think we have a
For
question
the
from Nazreen.
Hyderabad people, yes, we are working on that. We'll share a response to that very shortly. The Accenture team is helping us out with this. Does LT have
Do LT
capabilities to?
have capabilities
Sorry, please go ahead.
to have AI integrated with it? I think the flakiness feature that I was talking about is something that's coming up with AI itself. Uh, Other than that, these are things that we have in the roadmap. As of now, there's nothing other than that flakiness feature. There's nothing else where AI is being used on LT. Can we run Cucumber feature file? Absolutely. Any language, any framework, be it Cucumber, Java, anything that you want to run, you can run it on Lambda test.
For different SSO, for example, Okta, we have support for that. Yes, you can integrate Okta sign-in along with any other SSO feature that you want to integrate. We have options to integrate with all the other SSO sign-ins, including Active Directory, Okta. So all of this, you can do that. Yes. So for the feature for mark as a bug to suggest an existing bug, that would require a very in-depth two-way integration. We are working on this, but right now it is, I'll say, more of a security concern as well, having a that in-depth two-way integration. So for that, we are working with the individual teams on how to take care of this. But yeah, we are working on this. Thanks for the suggestion. We'll accelerate our development on this side.
Does it take more time to run tests through Lambda test? Because when you ran locally, it was quick. Uh, to answer your question, if you compare tests one by one, because I just ran one single test locally and one test on Lambda test. So since when I was running it locally, my browser, my hub, everything was in my local system, so everything was under one network. However, when I run it on Lambda test, I have my system is firing up the commands. However, I'm getting a hub in one of my nearest regions, probably in APAC, and I'm getting the machine from one of the Lambda test data centers, which would be probably for my case, I would be getting that in Europe. So since my request for one single test has to travel from this particular machine to Europe and then back, so yes, if we compare one to one, it is slower. However, that's where parallelization comes into picture, where in the time where you can run two or three tests locally, you have the option where you can multiply in parallel run up to 10 or 100 tests on Lambda tests and take away that time.
In addition, you will also see a session on hyper execute. So hyper execute is a very innovative new feature which is kind of a unique IP with Lambda test that enables you to run tests as fast as running tests on locally and sometimes even faster. So we'll go through that in that session, how you can run tests using hyper execute at a very fast pace.
Can we use this to automate desktop application? So as Mudit mentioned, the feature that we have as hyper execute. So with hyper execute, yes, you would be able to run desktop application test as well. It's currently not supported with the standard platform that we provide. Uh, can Lambda test bring an update to the market bug? Okay, that's done. Integration with Tosca. Is the recording of the session available to refer afterwards? Yes, that would be shared. How to record a test script for automation. So for record and play tools, something like Catalan or Selenium ID, we have Lambtest has integrations with that as well. So Lambtest directly does not provide anything to record the scripts and run it. However, if you are using any of the uh, codeless automation tools, something like Catalan, Renorex, Selenium ID, you have the option to record them and directly run it from there to Lambda test. Any materials or steps available for us to configure and do this practically? Uh, Mudit, I think we have that in a document session, right?
So we have shared all the resources around on this. Please feel free to go to the resources section and check out all the steps over there, all the documentation and also video tutorials we have available over there. So I think we can only take few more questions. We are already over the time, nearly 10 minutes over the time. So to highlight specifically around parallelization, the number of parallel tests you can execute over Lambda test depends upon the type of license that you have with us. In fact, our license is based upon the parallelization. At a time, you can execute, let's say if you are subscribed to 10 parallel sessions, at a time 10 sessions would be executed, but rest of the sessions would be added in the queue. Rest of the test cases that you have would be added in the queue. We have a pretty long queue that over which you can fill up the tests. So if you have more parallel sessions, again, you will be able to clear that queue faster. more about it, again, feel free to check out our documentation or drop us a message and we'll be there to help out. I think I have few more things to share. Neeraj, if you can stop your sharing, I just want to share quick instructions related to the testathon.
Sure.
I think there are a lot of questions around those as well. I will share entire screen. Please let me know if you are able to share screen my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Madhu.
Correct. Cool. So first of all, there were a lot of questions related to the leaderboard or the point scoring. So as I also highlighted, there are three activities that will add up to your leaderboard score. First is complete all the certifications. Now these certifications are open till 8th of June. So you have 8th of June to complete all the 5 certifications. It's not necessary to complete all the certifications, but to get a, let's say, edge on the leaderboard, I will say that it's important to have all the product certifications. You will be getting the certifications during the testathon or even after of the testathon as well. But again, we will be keep updating the leaderboard, so feel free to check out over there. Another way to get points would be to attend the sessions. We are seeing how many people are attending the sessions. We are calculating all of that, and based on the attendance, a score would be provided, which will again help you earn points. And the last is the session quizzes, which will be sharing with you. So you take these quizzes again, that will help you on your points, right? The top 10 scorers across the whole testathon will get a chance to advance to the final of the testathon, the grand finale, and over there they will be able to take the sessions. And for support, feel free to check your emails from, let's say, we have shared the integration emails related to Lambda tests. We have shared for the certification emails. So check out these email IDs, any mails you have gotten. They may have landed in spam folder. If you have not received, again, feel free to reach out to testathon at the rate of lambdatest.com, and again, we'll be able to help you out with any issues related to accessing Lambda test or accessing the certification portal, right? Now for the session quizzes, they will start at 3 p.m. sharp. There would be around 20 questions and you will be scoring 50 points. So each correct answer will give you 2.5 points. There are no negative markings. So again, if you are not pretty sure about any answer, feel free to mark whatever you feel is the right answer for this. Watch out the schedule in the air meet that we have provided. This will give you an idea at which exact time the MCQs would be starting, the session quiz will be starting. These are, again, as I mentioned, these are completely MCQ format, right? And all the resources, quiz links, leaderboard, everything would be updated at Accenture Testathon. It's Accenture-Testathon-23 lambdatest.com. Again, this link would be there in the resources section. Feel free to check this and you will get more info over there, right? So to have a better, let's say, adding all of these sessions in your calendar, use the bookmark section. So in the each session, in the each quiz, there is a way to bookmark this. This will give you a reminder and at the same time a individual calendar invite. So we strongly recommend to bookmark every session and quiz so that you will get timely reminders for each of these, right? So yeah, again, sharing this email ID, feel free to drop us a message. If you are facing any issues, feel free to do that. In addition, after the session, in the AirMeet platform, there is a way to, we have tables over there. So any issues, any more questions that you have for us, feel free to drop by at the table and we'll be there to help out. So with that, again, we are pretty much over the time. I would like to conclude our first session. Again, thank you everybody for taking your time out to become a part of this session. And I really look forward to seeing you all on the next sessions as well and for the grand finale. And yeah, again, as I mentioned, there are tables after the in the AirMeet platform. Feel free to drop by over there. If you have any questions, suggestions, we'll be there to help out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.